Put yourself in the shoes of an examiner for a second. You're grading an advanced essay, and you read two sentences. One says, basically, the old way is fake and boring. Okay, fine for a casual chat, right? But what if the next essay says, fundamentally, the traditional methodology is spurious and insipid? Wow! I mean, you immediately respect that second writer, don't you? They sound authoritative, analytical, and totally in command of their argument.
Welcome to This Explainer. I am so incredibly pumped you're here today because, well, we're on a mission. We are going to completely transform those low-register, informal, everyday sentences into powerful, authoritative academic prose. Think of this as building a master toolkit. We're upgrading your vocabulary so that the next time you write an analysis or an argument, your words don't just sit there on the page, they practically jump off it and demand respect. Okay, here's our roadmap for the explainer. We'll kick things off with elevating your academic voice. Then we'll move into precise descriptive adjectives, persuasive and argumentative verbs, and analytical academic transitions. Finally, we'll put it all together in the sentence makeover guide. Let's dive right into Section 1, elevating your academic voice.
Now notice that specific phrase right there, mature command of language. That is the absolute gold standard. To nail a top score, like a 5 on an AP English exam, good enough vocabulary just isn't going to cut it. It requires an active, intentional shift away from the everyday words we use when we're talking, moving toward precise C1 and C2 level academic alternatives. It's really about establishing yourself not just as a student, but as a legitimate critic.
Moving on to Section 2, precise descriptive adjectives.
Imagine reading the word sad for the 100th time. It's just so vague, you know? But if you describe a tone as melancholic, suddenly you're suggesting a deep, pensive, long-lasting sorrow. Instead of calling a rule strict, calling it draconian instantly paints a picture of excessively harsh measures. And swapping harmful for delirious adds this incredible nuance of subtle, almost insidious damage. Same goes for changing fake to spurious. Just pause for a second and think about how much more specific these advanced synonyms actually are.
Let's do a quick deep dive on one of my absolute favorites, pellucid. We constantly write that an author makes their point clear. Everybody says clear. But when you describe a writer's style as pellucid, you aren't just saying it makes sense. You're arguing that their logic is effortlessly transparent and brilliantly easy to understand. It just sounds infinitely more authoritative.
All right, Section 3, persuasive and argumentative verbs.
So many writers rely on really weak verbs. You know the ones, the author shows or the evidence proves. Honestly, these severely weaken your analysis. But listen to these alternatives. You don't just show a concept, you elucidate it. You explain it thoroughly. You don't just prove a point, you substantiate it with actual evidence. You don't change something, you transmute it. You don't avoid a counterargument, you deliberately eschew it. These verbs, they really pack a serious punch.
Here we go with Section 4, analytical academic transitions. Clunky, everyday transitions can completely derail the flow of a great academic essay. Starting a sentence with so or but, it feels a bit like a casual text message, not a serious analysis. By seamlessly replacing so with consequently to show cause and effect, or swapping but for nevertheless to show contrast, you instantly elevate the whole academic flow. Even just trading basically for fundamentally, or therefore for ergo, shifts the entire register of your writing.
Finally, Section 5, the Sentence Makeover Guide.
Okay, here is our simple 3-step recipe for making over any clunky sentence. Step 1, we identify the weak spots, those low-register verbs and informal transitions. Step 2, we swap them out with our sophisticated AP Lexicon synonyms. And Step 3, we polish the rest of the sentence to make sure the context and grammar are perfectly aligned. Let's try it out. Let's play a quick guessing game. Say you write, the author shows that the new law is harmful to the poor people. How would you upgrade shows and harmful? Think about it. Now compare your idea to this expert exemplar. The author elucidates how the proposed legislation is deleterious to the city's marginalized populations. I mean, the difference is night and day, isn't it?
Here's another one. So the speaker's angry tone makes the audience feel like they should change their minds soon. Notice the academic shift we can make here. That casual so becomes a commanding consequently. The pretty basic adjective angry gets upgraded to the highly specific indignant, which literally means anger at something unjust. And instead of the weak phrase makes the audience feel, the tone impels the audience. It completely transforms the rhetorical force of the sentence.
Now let's tackle wordiness. Listen to this. The writer is very careful to use facts to prove that the problem is found everywhere. Kind of a mouthful, right? Contrast that clunky phrase, found everywhere, with a much sharper alternative. The writer meticulously employs empirical evidence to substantiate the ubiquity of the issue. It's tight, it's academic, and it is devastatingly precise.
I actually want to briefly spotlight the root word we just used there, ubiquitous. This is a prime example of condensing wordy, amateur phrases into a single powerful vocabulary word. Instead of wasting 5 words saying it can be seen all over the place, you just call it ubiquitous. That kind of efficiency, that's a hallmark of a true expert writer.
Let's look at one final, dramatic transformation. We start with the idea that an arrogant attitude will weaken a country's power. But when we apply our toolbox, nevertheless, the central premise remains that the leader's supercilious demeanor will inevitably enervate the nation's influence. Just take a second to appreciate the massive upgrade in academic weight there.
So why does this rewrite work so brilliantly? Well, we swapped arrogant for supercilious, which is absolutely top-tier vocabulary. We swapped weaken for enervate, which specifically describes draining something of its energy or vitality. Together, they prove that precision in language equals strength in your argument. You aren't just summarizing anymore, you are clinically analyzing.
And let's give supercilious its well-deserved moment in the sun. It means behaving as though one thinks they are superior to others. When you drop a word like this into an essay, you immediately establish yourself as a highly perceptive critic. You are seeing exactly what the author is doing, and you're labeling it perfectly.
Which brings us right back to our opening hook. We've seen the mechanics in action now. We transitioned from basically to fundamentally. We upgraded the weak verb suggests to the academic standard posits. And we transformed the totally colloquial fake and boring into the sophisticated evaluation spurious and insipid. We essentially turned a casual observation into an ironclad academic claim.
I want to leave you with this final provocative question. Are your words just taking up space on the page? Or are they actively establishing your authority? Look, every single sentence is an opportunity to prove your command of the language. I challenge you to completely rethink the vocabulary in your very next essay. Use these tools, elevate your academic voice, and make every single word count. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.